Hello, what's up, guys? I should have done the countdown. I still don't know what I'm doing on this channel. Like sometimes the countdown, sometimes I'm just like, "Hey, what's going on, everybody?
The
Hi,
countdown
everybody."
is very over.
Yeah, people like the countdown. That's a grin bit, though. I mean, I'd love
Not
if I wanted to
affiliated.
grin. Yeah, we're not affiliated with LateNightGrid.com. Don't go to LateNightGrid.com and sign up for $1 a month to get all of your more pro wrestling needs from Joseph Shoot, O'Neill, and the Oracle of Wrestling, and sometimes me and sometimes Jack Crosby. Definitely do not go to LateNightGrid.com and sign up for $1 a month. Hi, I'm Jeremy. You might know me. Big Money, Drew Nicholas is here. Drew, what's going on?
I am honored to be on my Distraction debut and talking AEW, which is a lot better than. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Hold on.
You've got a WWE title. There we go. I shouldn't say that. I'm supposed to remain impartial.
There we go. Much
go.
better. The Kenny Omega Universal Championship.
There we go. Guys, you can. So this channel is not monetized still. Hopefully December we can start making some cash on this thing. But for some reason, Sean has gotten over. I don't watch these other products that these other fools do, but Sean has gotten over Humper Chats. So if you go to humperchats.com, the link is posted there on the chat. It is pinned. If you go there, you can essentially send a super chat, and I will read it, and you can give me money because I don't get money through the distraction shows. When you guys do super chats for that, I don't get any of that. Joseph doesn't get any of that. When you do it on these shows, it goes to us. So do the Humper Chats for this show, so it goes in my pocket, so I can pay for these 4 kids I'm about to have. All right, 4 kids, Drew. Can you imagine?
Well, I know you're not chopping in the bedroom, that's for sure.
We're slamming the sling here at the Distraction offices. That's what we're doing. That's what we do around here.
Hashtag slamming that sling.
Drew, you're here to talk about a lot of things, but we're going to start with kind of the far back, almost a week ago now, the WWE releases. You mentioned you want to speak on this. I've given my thoughts on this, but the floor is yours to talk about the WWE releases, Drew.
Yeah, so I don't want to ever come off as a AEW shill, any of that stupid nonsense that people like to throw around when they're WWE stans. I will give my personal background. For a year and a half, I covered all of main roster WWE from WrestleMania 36 through, I think, just before SummerSlam of this year for CageSideSeats.com. I was a big WWE fan. I was really into WWE. That being said, WWE sucks. And I have to tell you, what they've done with these releases is just, it's mind-boggling as the billion-dollar company that they literally are. There's proof, there's actual proof that this is a billion-dollar company. And right when they decide to announce, hey, we've made so much money this quarter, we've made profits that we've never seen before, then they decide to release so many people because of budget cuts, as they like to say, the old Johnny Ace term. It's very sad, and I have to tell you, I was still working for Cage Side when I was doing. I did a SmackDown the night that they released a bunch of people during the SmackDown show.
That was a night.
How do I continue to watch? Like, I don't even remember the rest of the show after that. It was Sean just tweeting out name after name after name after name. It's like, well, all right, SmackDown's over for me at 8:40. But man, I mean, and people that they've released in the last 2 times. I mean, of course, they did the one in 2020, which, I mean, right at the start of the pandemic, that was insane. come on. But the two that I was, or the three, I should say, that I was most upset with were Keith Lee, Ember Moon, and B-Fab. B-Fab, I mean, she was a manager. She wasn't really a wrestler. And I'm not a huge fan of NXT. Again, that's not a NXT versus AEW thing. That's just me saying I'm not a fan of NXT. That's all. Love Braun Breaker, though. Or Breaker, as Alex Pulaski said. But Ember... B-Fab, I saw them on NXT before they got Hit Row. I saw them on NXT before they got called up. That was like my most favorite thing. And she was a big part of that. She's the one that started Hit Row. You know, it was in her. She was the one that did the start of that, and they put it in the theme song for them to come out. And they get called up, and everybody's got, you know, let it play out a phobia, I like to call it. You know, oh, they're going to be great. Immediately, I was worried. Immediately. Like, oh, God, this is going to be on Fox. This is potentially something bad is going to happen here. But I kept the, you know, let it play out. Okay, fine. 1 month later, she's gone. Hasn't even really gotten her feet wet in that pool. Already gone. Like that was absolutely insane. Ember Moon, I loved Ember Moon. She, you know, I think she's really underrated. People don't really understand how good she is in the ring. And that's because we haven't really seen her that much. Now, I know that was because she was injured. She'd been injured for a while. But they called her up like 2 years ago, I think it was. And then she got injured. So they sent her back to NXT, and she was in the tag team. And I believe they won and then lost the new NXT Women's Championship like relatively quickly, right?
Yeah, so the NXT Women's Tag Team titles changed hands like the first defense for pretty much every single time.
Yeah, it's why? I don't know why, and I can't answer that, and I know you can't answer that either. But Keith Lee, now this one really took me aback because he is an incredible person in and out of the ring. I saw Keith Lee for the first time all the way back in 2017 at the first ever Progress NYC show that they did. I went to Queens for the Progress NYC show, and that was an amazing show. And Keith Lee comes out, and the whole place goes ballistic for him. I had no idea who he was at the time, but I went with a friend, and he was next to me, and he was like, oh, yeah, that's Keith Lee. He's in Evolve. He's doing all this amazing stuff. And the name Keith Lee alone, going to NXT, knowing him from when I got to see him, it's like, oh, wow, okay. So he gets called up, and immediately he loses every single thing about him that made him Keith Lee for whatever they want him to be, which was this bear cat thing. Like it take away his amazing music. I Am Limitless. I mean, everything about him was amazing, and one by one they strip it. They did the same thing with Karrion Kross, but I don't really like Karrion Kross, so I don't care about that. But sorry, Jack Crosby. So, you know, they take him and they mold him into this new thing that you can just tell with every single person that they did this to. They didn't want to do this. He didn't want to be Bearcat Keith Lee. And he got sick, and we didn't really know until more recently. It was a very life-threatening sickness that he had, heart issues. I'm so happy that he's okay. And then he comes back, and then all of a sudden he's Keith Bearcat Lee with this growling that he does in the ring. It's like, come on, this is bull. This is bull. And now he's gone. They release him. And, for him, I kind of feel like that's okay. I don't wish anybody to get fired, honestly. And it's terrible when people do that. I hate that. But I'm almost happy that he's not working for WWE anymore, because he's really going to shine in hopefully AEW. Maybe it won't be AEW. I think he'd be pretty decent in Impact too. But man, I mean, so many of them. So many of them. Bray Wyatt. Not a lot of people on the Bray Wyatt train. I'm a huge, huge Fiend guy. I loved the Fiend. I started loving what they were doing with Alexa Bliss back when it was like a psychological thing last year. But then when it became a spooky, I spit blood and I make the Fiend lose and all this Lily stuff. That was just silly. Sorry, I'm probably gonna get a bunch of DMs now. But it's and I did actually when I was working at Cage Side, I got a couple of DMs from people when I didn't like that stuff. But yeah, I mean it's just what the state of WWE right now is just very grim for me. It really is. And as a big fan of it, I really want enough of a fan to work for a website and watch Raw and SmackDown and the pay-per-views and cover them and review them. I just don't have my heart in it anymore.
You're not alone in that. That is a sentiment shared by many people, except for this guy who works for NXT UK now, Joseph Holbert. Joseph, you're back.
No, that's wrong. Take me off and put me back on. Take me off.
You're not alone in your sentiments, Drew. A lot of people feel the same way, including this guy who has declared the Fed dead, Joseph Holbert. Joseph, how are you?
See how much easier that was? You see? Get us one. How are you guys? I'm good. I'm happy to be back. I feel a little nervous, guys. I feel like I need to shake off the cobwebs. I'm here now to do this. We actually got someone good on the show for once, so I feel a little bit out of my depth. But the distraction tomorrow, I didn't want to be in that kind of without getting a little 6-rounder on my belt. Let's get a win, and then tomorrow. So the distraction's a world title fight every week. You know that. But I'm good. WWE pays well. I have no comments on their recent releases or many PR misses in the time that I've been away. I assume everything's been going good. So yeah, I'm good, guys. I'm happy to be back.
I thought Danielson's comments were interesting today when he talked about the releases. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it seems to be a sentiment shared by many, and one that not hard to believe, where he basically said, like, this is how I kind of thought business worked. And then I went to AEW and it's not how business works. And like something like that kind of led me towards going to AEW. These guys see their friends get released and they're like, I'm out, I'm done. Like they can work elsewhere, because it gets disheartening when you work there and you just see your friends get released every single month. It's tough. It's tough. Joseph,
Are we really doing this? Yeah. I thought I got away with not talking about this.
No.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is, guys, is that every 3 months, if we're being like really generous and friendly about it, they're going to do a mass release. And at that time, we're going to log on and be like, fuck the WWF. But at some point, they tell you who they are enough times. It's about time we listen. I wasn't surprised, but the only thing that surprised me a touch, B-Fab, the timing of was insane, but surprised, too strong. They're going to do this shit, man, and it's only going to get worse because there's no consequences to it. But to Brian's comments, I mean, Brian Danielson got one right. Like, of course, it's bullshit. They should be able to leave whenever they want because they can get fired whenever they want. But they should be able to do a lot of stuff as professional wrestlers that they're not allowed to do. And it will never change. We all know that. We're being honest here. We're thankful that we're in a place now where wrestling has a major league equivalent that isn't that way. And we're thankful for it. And we're looking forward to know what they're going to offer this weekend. But, this not pretend that ain't shit changing, bro. No one cares, Like, they care when they can get their tweets off, but no one actually cares. So, yeah, I don't know. We feared releases were coming, and I got out of the way of it. But there you go.
The thing that gets me the most is that, and they were talking about it on the List on Your Boy today.
Never heard of that show.
No.
Same. Me either.
I don't understand this. Vince wants the WWE name to be what's over, and everyone else is just a supporting character. Like, this is the guy who made money off of The Rock and Austin, and he just wants WWE now to be the marquee and everybody. It just doesn't make sense to me,
So this is interesting because I'm now going to every week, just at some point, cite the fact that I attended the WWF show. Because that went over so well on Twitter, so I'm going to just keep doing it on the show. So it struck me, it was the first time I'd ever been to one of their events, and it wasn't filled with Cena shirts. I saw like 2 John Cena shirts, which makes sense, right? He hasn't been full-time for years, but let's be real. There was a while there after he'd left that they still went with those shirts. And I was looking around, and like, there was not one wrestler that shirt was like the majority in the building. Not one. The most I saw was Roman, which makes sense, but it wasn't nothing like what we had seen 10, 15 years ago. But, partly that's intentional. He's a heel. I get it. And it struck me to your point, Drew, and that whole talking point is like, I don't know if it's working because like the ratings suggest there's a decline, whether that's an actual decline due to the quality or it's a decline due to television. People can debate that until the end of time. However, it's a thing that's happened for sure, because I can tell you that these people that attended this WWE show were not watching the TV every week. When Austin Theory came out, it could have been me out there, I probably would have got a bigger pop. Drake Maverick hadn't been on the show in a couple of years. He got no response at home. And I love Drake, but it's the truth. So it's basically this situation where people are like, I know WWE, and like they just show up. They don't really know the angles or the thing. They're just like, it's the show in town, WWE. And this goes back to that conversation about like, is that a professional? We're back.
Yes, you're back.
Yeah,
I know it happened. Drew's seen that many times on the Late Night Grim. This time I didn't sell this time. I just let it happen. Is that a professional wrestling promotion? I don't know. I don't know how you define that, but it's a weird vibe. It's very, very different to most wrestling shows you'll go to because the brand it's the centerpiece. People walk around with, WWE comes to Brighton shirts like fucking bootlickers. It's incredible.
But as long as, they get their $1 billion contracts every 5 years, then everything's fine. All good. Hashtag let it play out. All that nonsense comes out.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, I actually made a joke about it, but there was an interesting element to the discussion yesterday, which it comes out every week about was WCW its worst, worse than WWE today. And I've watched 2000 WCW, and I think I agree with the consensus. It was worse, but it was like more fun to watch because
way more fun,
right? Yeah. And that's whatever. But there was a point made, and I wish I could remember it was, where someone was like, people don't realize how bad WWE is because they've done it so gradually over the last decade and change. And I read that and was like, there is 100% truth to that. There is stuff that airs on WWE TV that is like all-time wrestle crap shit, But people are just like, well, whatever. And then as Drew, the Let It Play Out crew, they would anything could happen on that show and it would be defended, Like, for example, here's a perfect example. That finish to Finn and Roman, if WCW did that in 1999 or 2000, that would be played forever. That already is like gone. It's like, they did that, whatever, who cares?
I'd forgotten what the finish was. I had to like think for a second to remember Drew Roman, what finish? Oh, right, where the rope broke Finn Roman, sorry. The rope broke and Balor did the revival.
That's an old timer. But it was, we were told let it play out. It never did play out, but no one cares. Everyone just, and maybe that's social media. I don't know. But
Karrion Kross was a let it play out
Yeah.
situation as well. We see how well that worked out for him.
Yeah, I mean, the releases had a real sinister kind of side to the whole let it play out thing because, you know, you tell someone, well, my favorite wrestler got buried, and they go, well, let it play out. Well, no, they may actually not be on the show anymore. So I know, and that's a real thing, but they're blind to that because they explain every release every fucking time. So
To your point, actually, about the no reaction thing, I didn't watch Raw this week, shocker, but I did see a clip of. As I saw the Corey Graves holding the 24/7 title, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This is strange. And then, so I looked on Twitter, I saw that he had won, and then Byron pinned him in that whole clusterfuck 24/7 gimmick. And I watched it on YouTube. I watched a clip, and I actually thought it was a pretty fun segment. I didn't mind it at all. No one was reacting at all, the crowd, to that whole segment. There was barely a cheer for anybody winning. And it's like, what's the point of all of this if not to get a crowd reaction? If they're not reacting to any of this stuff.
Yeah, that stuff's hard. Their crowds are in a weird place. I'll always remember Brian wrestling Gulak in Philly. You know, and they had the kind of match that Brian has in AEW every week, and it was like that crowd just sat there. And that was a Philly crowd, but you could tell it wasn't a Philly crowd of old. It was WWE folks, and they just, I don't know. Like Joel mentions it, and I did see a lot of talk about the crowd being dead on Monday. I don't know what the deal is, but their crowds are generally, I don't think it's a hot take to say that, like,
we know what the deal is.
Look, I don't watch enough to see how the crowds are every week, but I think everyone agrees collectively their crowds are not as good as the stuff that's on the other channel, which is what we're going to refer to as moving forward. When we talk about the other show, we have to say the other channel. That upsets people. It's a problem. Live, you know, the crowd being into things makes the show better, and the fact they're not, into the stuff doesn't make it, you know, it doesn't help anyone. But their crowds react to some weird, like I always said it on the show when they would do that Lily shit, like the crowds would go crazy for that. And I had no idea why. So I don't know who's in them buildings anymore. Jeremy Lambert, do you know who they are? Should they be on a list of some kind?
I don't know. I fell asleep during Raw.
Sorry to hear that.
There was like 13 24/7 title changes, and that was the last thing I remember. And I didn't go back and watch anything because why would I? I don't care about this show. I watch it because it's kind of on, and I gotta sort of cover it. Otherwise, I don't care. I have no investment to any of this stuff. Absolutely none.
Sorry to hear that.
Let's talk about a good show. Kazuchika Okada is going to show up on AEW Dynamite tonight. How fired up are you, Drew?
Extremely fired up. Hopefully it actually ends up happening. But it's definitely happening. You can blame me if it doesn't.
Don't doubt me. Joseph, you excited for the Rainmaker on AEW Dynamite?
The confirmed shoot.
Where's he at?
I don't know, he's a fucking coward. He has texted me that he assumes that we're getting a 10-man tag with the Hardy family office. So he has told me to prepare excitement for this. So I'm very excited to see him wrestle the Blade. Well, him and the best, you know, because that would be Friday's match. Him and the best friends.
Oh, they're gonna put Okada on Rampage?
Yeah.
That's fair. Rampage is
we just do a singles with Matt Hardy. Reese sent me someone's tweet about that. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, to me, he could go, give him 47 minutes with a Blade, you know, see what he can get out of the Butcher. Mark Quinn in a 60-minute time limit draw. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I'll be honest with you, I think Okada's great. Ishii excites me a lot more from an AEW perspective because he's better to me as like a weird exhibition match guy. There's a lot of guys Ishii could just have a 15-minute match with. Okada, you know, there's more. It feels like you need to treat him with more gravity than that, and he needs to do some really epic shit. So it's different. It's a different thing.
Coming in and wrestling Matt Hardy ain't what you had in mind when Kazuchika Okada was going to come in.
I didn't hear what you said because my internet cut out, but yes.
Wow. Okada against Matt Hardy is not what you had in mind for Okada coming in.
I always have Matt Hardy in mind.
Sure, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Not particularly for that match.
If this was another show, we would have gotten
yeah, we would have. Visual bits on around on here, pal. Yeah. You know, it is what it is. But
wait. Wait.
Okay.
That smells like big money to me. Give him hell, TK!
God. The best thing in that video is the echo from the man's own backyard of just how big it is, you know? You just hear it. You hear the sound, man. Dude just walked out of his house, front of his massive yard, and filmed himself recording a video of TK.
Well, Matt Hardy just put me over. I'm really, really honored.
It's tremendous. Now, Christian's got the right idea here. And Helico on elevation. That's what you do with Okada.
And Helico on elevation.
Yeah, I would actually say not. I would say in the studio, though, rather than elevation. But that's just, just slight different. No, it'll be fun. Look, I try not to expect that stuff because people are going to get bummed if he isn't there. So it's like, I do know is he's wrestling Buddy Matthews on Saturday night.
Oh, he is. Yeah, is that a victory lap for you?
I always win in the end, Jeremy Lambert. I always win in the end.
True.
This feels like a win. I think. Listen, the match could be bad. If the match is bad or average, the
match is not going to be bad. Are you kidding me?
But you know where sometimes in wrestling nowadays, when a match is average, we pretend it's bad for content's sake. Yeah. If that happens, I'll never speak of Buddy Matthews again on this program or any program that I do. But I think it will actually be incredible because I think Bud Matt is going to be an absolute animal in this thing. He's desperate, man. I feel, and I mean that in a positive way. He wants to prove a point. Yeah. Hopefully Okada's got his working boots on, and he knows it's a big deal because, in all seriousness, there is a chance that Okada thinks he's just like some fucking bum from the World Wrestling Federation. Because, I love Bud Matt, but he's his main work was on 205 Live, And that was not being seen by
He's going to take that first knee and realize, shit, Kenny never hit me this hard. And he's going to fire right back at him.
My God. I don't know if that'd be a good thing if he hits him that hard. Okay. No,
what if he thinks it's Kenny? What if he's just like, oh, man, Kenny put on some extra muscle?
Damn, short Kenny's physique there. He's a big guy, man. Listen, maybe you should just shoot on him. Maybe you should just go there and just kick the shit out of him and go over.
I'm saying he's going to hit him with that knee.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe you should go full Bob Fish. That match is going to be great. Unfortunately, it's the same night as Full Gear. And I'm never buying another one of those US shows because the last one looked like it was filmed on a fucking printer.
Yeah, that LA show was rough. You turned in your New Japan USA card after that, right?
Yeah, short-lived card. Yeah, I just applied for it, got given it, ripped it up, threw it in the bin.
It is a shame that show is on Saturday night and very little attention is going to be paid to it because Full Gear, and I hear there's some big matches on that show. What are you expecting from Dynamite tonight, Drew?
Honestly, I don't really know except for the contract signing. I'm not 100% sure of what's happening, but boy, do I hope that they do something with Punk and Eddie.
Well, Okada's going to be on the show, as I've said. He's going to be in the corner of Rocky Romero against Bryan Danielson. He's going to have a stare down with Danielson at the end of it, and then Kenta is going to come out as well. It's gonna be fantastic. Jungle Boy is wrestling Anthony Bowens. Pac is wrestling Dax Harwood. Joseph, I know you're fired up about that. Look at the face Joseph just made.
Dax is gonna kick the shit out of him. 8 minutes winning with a DDT. No, let me tell you, that's not the match I'm most excited for. Rocky Romero, Bryan Danielson is going to be incredible, man. I'm really confident on this. Yes. Now, again, that's one of those deals. Depends how they approach it. It might just be like a nice little match, which I'll be cool with. I'm going to be real with you guys. And he may make a fool of me with just an average match tonight. Rocky Romero is maybe the most underrated professional wrestler of the last 20 years. He has been great for legitimately, I say 20 years, that's legitimately about as long as he's been good at professional wrestling. I understand, he's, in a slightly different role nowadays, so he still wrestles regularly, but it's a different thing now, right? He's so good. Man, he's so good. So, him on primetime, national TV against Bryan Danielson, I think he's gonna swing for the fence. I think that'll be actually the match of the night. But yeah, Dax and Pac. I saw someone sent me Xavier Woods' tweet about that. Did you guys see that?
No.
No, I didn't see that.
Lance Storm was like, I'd never fought with this match, but this sounds awesome. And Xavier Woods, I saw this thing multiple times back in developmental and it was great then. So that's going to be killer now. So, this feels like one of those deals where Dax is fully aware of the match he can have with Pac. And he said to TK, Put me in, coach. You know, I can't wait. Now the finish of that's going to be interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, they're not going to do a DQ finish, I don't think, because they rarely go there. It feels like Pac wins, but you've also got FTR for the titles this weekend. So do you really want to beat that? It's a singles loss, so it's not like too terrible.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but
yeah, oof, there might be Lucha Bros like shenanigans on this one, and that leads to Pac winning. And that way it's protected enough for Dax, and it is a singles loss. I feel like that's going to be the finish.
What percentage chance do you think there is that FTR leaves Saturday night with the tag titles, Drew? What do you think?
This is a tough one for me to predict because I feel like both them winning works and them losing works in either scenario that you can craft in your head. So I kind of feel like they're being put a bit higher on the pedestal in AEW as of late. So I kind of do think they are going to win.
It's interesting, Jeremy. Where are you at on this? Because I've seen a range of opinions on this deal. I'm the chair. I see some 30s. That's where I'll be at.
Yeah, I'm at about a 40. I'm about 40%. Yeah,
pretty close then.
They got a shot because they're look, we've been high on FTR. They've been high on FTR. It's not that the Lucha Bros don't need the titles, but I thought it was a weird decision to give them the belts in the first place. Again, nothing against them. The match it's probably going to end up the match of the year for a lot of people. And watching it live was certainly a spectacle, but it never felt like it was their time to win. They just kind of won. It didn't feel like they should have been the team to end the reign of the Young Bucks. Again, the match was great. It just didn't feel like it should have been them. They're going to do, we always talk about short reigns with titles and everything. Like, we can do a short tag team title reign here. Everyone talks about the world title reign being a short reign. Like, we can do a short tag team title reign for the Lucha Bros. I'm talking myself into FTR a little bit more, but I'll keep it at about 40, 45.
It's interesting. I think, with Santana and Ortiz kind of looming, it's even more interesting because while they did the lengthy feud with FTR in ring, I think there's definitely still there's something left on the table there. I feel, which is weird because it went on for months and months because of different circumstances. But yeah, I don't know. I think Lucha Bros is going to win. And as Zach mentions, they had interestingly the FTR's title reign was all out to Full Gear, so there is a precedent there. But I don't know. I think the match is going to be, brother. Let me tell you. You give those two teams 25 minutes. After what I saw a couple of weeks back, I think this is going to be like, and I hate saying this because it kind of discredits what they've done in AEW because they've been really good in AEW, but I think you're going to get vintage NXT TakeOver-esque, revival here, which I still don't think we've got to that degree because that team is probably, a top 5 team in professional wrestling history. What we've got in AEW is a top 10, top 15 team in professional wrestling history, which is much worse. But yeah, that match is one that I'm circling. I have been for the longest. I think match quality wise, that could actually end up being the match of the night. I really believe that. The Young Bucks ain't in there, but two and three are for me in terms of the best teams in the world. They're spectacular.
Like, you're on Lucha Bros. FTR is the 2 and 3 teams.
Yeah, full by a lot.
Like in over the Usos. Your beloved Usos?
In the sense that if I was let me explain further. Not in a big board sense.
Okay.
But in a sense where I need to trust these professional wrestling tag teams to give me a classic. I would go Young Bucks and I would have them at tied at 2, those two teams. And then Santana and Ortiz are next to the Usos and New Day and all those guys. That's where I'm at.
I feel like that's kind of cowardly.
All right, fine. I'll add FTR above the Lucha Bros. There you go.
Okay, fair enough.
Look, here's the thing too: is the Usos are they're operating on different. It's a lot harder when you have 12-minute matches with the Street Profits every single week. It's difficult. So I think if the Usos were in AEW, I may have a different answer, but they're not in AEW, Jeremy. That's the other channel. I don't talk about the other channel.
You excited for the Usos in AEW?
That will never happen.
I don't think it's.
I'm not lucky enough for that shit to happen.
Yeah, fair.
Only people that come to AEW ones that I have to pretend to like.
Also on Dynamite, we've got Matt Seidel, Lee Moriarty against Leo Rush and Dante Martin.
Ooh,
Oh, that'd be great.
that's gonna be that itself could be a match of the year contender.
I don't know if they'll quite get enough time, but it should be a great match. It's probably like going to be like 9-minute sprint or something.
It's a big night for two guys there. I mean, it's a big night for all involved, but if you look at Lee Moriarty,
Yeah,
is a guy that I think a lot of us have penciled in as a major player in AEW down the line. How soon that'll be, I think he'll decide, to be honest, which is a nice thing to say, but I believe it. Huge night for him, wrestling on Dynamite. Leo Rush, big one, man. I mean, I'm really intrigued. I've talked about it on the air, especially on the Grin. I know we've talked about it. I've seen a lot of takes on what his ceiling is in AEW, and I'm not going to hand wave it. My instincts are he could be a TNT champ. That's probably where I would stop. But I'm not going to dismiss people that think he can go higher than that, because that dude, there's a real argument he's like peak yet.
I'm not putting too much stock into this match. He just lost his grandmother. I don't know how that's going to weigh on him.
I did not know that.
He's dedicating the match to his grandmother and everything. So if he goes out there and he just looks a little bit off, there are extenuating circumstances for that.
Obviously, yeah, that's much more important than professional wrestling. But in not even just this move from this match, like the next couple months as he gets comfortable on the roster and he starts wrestling, it's just going to be interesting. People think he can be a world champ. Now, I'll believe it when I see it. I froze, but that roster's stacked, and it'll be interesting. I'm really intrigued how he kind of stacks up bell to bell once he gets comfortable in the AEW roster, because that is as deep as it gets, man. That roster's loaded.
Where's your ceiling at for Leo Rush, Drew?
He is. I was really excited when he came in as the Joker last year, and then he had gotten injured, right?
Yeah, he got injured in that match.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's like incredible. Like when he was in WWE and he was doing that, Lashley, that whole deal. I didn't mind it as much as other people did. I thought it was very helpful to actually get Lashley over. And I remember, I think Lashley had tweeted something out recently, like in support of him, because he really realized that he was kind of pivotal at that moment. Of course, then they did that whole Lana thing, but that's beside the point. The point is that I do see him as a TNT title winner. When and who he beats and has a feud with, I don't really know, because there's so many possibilities right now. I mean, who knows how long Sammy Guevara is going to have it for. That could be months. It could be a shock defeat and somebody else gets it, with other people coming into the company as well. There's so many options, and I like not knowing where it's going to go.
I think TNT title is where I'm not going to cap anybody, but that's where I see him being. If he goes higher, bless. Like he'll definitely have earned it. But right now, I see him at TNT title. Go ahead, Joseph.
I think Jack is correct with his prediction in the chat. Scorpio Sky appeared at number 4 in the rankings out of absolutely nowhere about 2 weeks ago. Something is happening there. We all I think all would love Scorpio to finally kind of find some steady footing as a singles, both creatively in terms of presentation. It would not surprise me at all if after the Inner Circle wins at Full Gear, that's kind of the men of the years. I could 100% see a scenario where Scorpio gets that TNT title, even costs Sammy the match, whatever they may do, and that'll be really interesting, because I think personally there is money in Ethan Page versus Scorpio Sky as a singles program. Which side of that is the babyface is difficult because your instincts are Scorpio, but I think we see way more personality out of Scorpio as a heel.
Yeah.
So you know that's going to be something for them to navigate. But like, I wanted to point out because I think there is something to. I think Scorpio is. I think there's bright things for him in this next few months. I really believe that. Now, look, maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm letting it play out too long with that. But he's been in ring. You know, Scorpio is an interesting one in that, like, you've kind of been waiting, right, for the big push to materialize and it to click. But man, is Scorpio a great belt to belt. Every time I see him, it amazes me, dude. He's incredible. It
seemed like it was going to happen last year, and then the injury happened, and so that took him off television for a while. And he got the Sonic ring, and people thought he might win the TNT title then, but that just led to the heel turn, and then it was immediately into the tag team with Ethan Page. And look, I like them as a team. I could completely leave this ATT stuff, and hopefully that'll be over after Saturday. I imagine it will be. If they stay a team, I think there's still a ceiling with them as a team. Like, I think there's way more they can still do as a team. At some point, Scorpio's got to have that single. They just have so many guys, right?
It's difficult.
Like, that's a thing.
See, this is what makes, and I mean this with love because I'm a fan of the guy, but Scorpio is interesting because he feels like someone the belt would actually help.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these guys, and we're going to learn this, over the next few years here as this roster kind of continues to flourish, is like a lot of these guys don't need these belts.
Yeah.
People love them. And Scorpio is a guy people respect and they understand, they appreciate, he's very good. But to give him a hook, the belt could help a lot, I think. So, Scorpio Sky wrestling every week on TV, whether at Dynamite or Rampage, as TNT champ, I think could transform his career. Sammy is interesting. You do the ceiling conversation again, and it's like he's one that a lot of people think he's going to be world champion. And I don't dismiss that either. I think there's something to it. But he's a really hard one to get a read on, I think, as this roster expands and becomes so like all-star heavy. It'll be interesting if indeed he drops that belt to Scorpio, whoever it may be in the coming months.
Jimmy Cody.
It'll be really interesting to see where he's positioned. Because before he was the TNT champion, he had this like month or two where he kind of was just in the it was weird, right? So he's an interesting one to watch too. To your point though, there is just so many damn guys in this roster that need time, and that's a blessing mostly, a curse 2020 bit. But there's gonna be some juggling going on because there's a lot of mouths to feed, so to speak.
Sammy's honestly been hurt by the title, and it's not his fault. He's had some good matches as the champion, but he was on that great run before getting the title, and then he just got stuck back into this inner circle stuff.
That's
not his fault. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, not his fault, but he's been hurt because of that more than the title, 100%. That's just unfortunately where they kind of went with things. Go ahead, Drew.
One of the, I think, most puzzling things in recent AEW, recent, it's only been 2 years old. It's not only 2 years old, but, I would say in the past year was from the Pinnacle to the Inner Circle thing, and then Inner Circle wins, so they stay together, but then they're never on TV again until just recently together. It kind of felt like they should have broken up. Like Dave just said it in the chat. They should have broken up. They shouldn't have won that match. And I feel like now everyone has just been in a holding pattern until this specific feud right now with American Top Team. And some people think that American Top Team are actually going to end up getting the victory because it's a street fight. So that would then continue the feud, maybe, and I'm not really a fan of that.
The Inner Circle thing is a challenge because, simply put, and listen, there's a lot going on with the Chris Jericho situation. It's an understatement, right? There's a lot there. The problem they're going to have is, I think Chris Jericho, and understandably so, feels that he belongs on every pay-per-view. I get it. I understand. If you've not got the Inner Circle guys to kind of add something else to this whole deal, which singles programs are left for Jericho that you really want to see, And my concern is that that's going to end up hamstringing Santana Ortiz and Sammy because they're kind of there in the most polite way possible. Chris give them a platform and he changed their careers. That's the truth, okay? That was a big thing for them, especially Sammy. However, at this point, it kind of feels like the opposite, where like Chris kind of needs them to get these things on pay-per-view. So I wouldn't be surprised that if you see Chris pivot to some other kind of faction war with the Inner Circle after this, because that's their way of keeping him visible and keeping him doing these promo segments that I'm told great well.
Team Taz?
Yes, because I don't need Chris on the AEW anymore. I think we all probably on the same. But, like, the crowd loves him. But what singles matches do you book for that dude at this point? Like, I don't know, man. It feels like that's going to hurt the other guys because they all have to kind of be a collective for the sake of his booking almost to me. It's a bummer.
I would have said maybe if they didn't do the 6-month-long thing with MJF, I would have seen MJF as kind of like a bigger, once MJF gets the title, I could have seen that as like the big feud for him. Yeah. But they're really, I don't know. I couldn't tell you who would be a good singles for him.
It's difficult really. Because the guys that kind of you can tell a story with, let's be honest, you'd rather them do other stuff, right? Like Punk and Jericho would be a great story, but who? Come on, there's so much stuff for Punk to do. You really want to work Jericho again? Like I don't think Punk wants to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if either. I mean, Jericho might because why wouldn't he? But I don't know if Punk really wants to do that. Tobe Suicida says Jericho and Stark's been building to a match between them on commentary. It seems like Team Taz is like the next feasible step because it's still a faction thing. You've got your singles guy with Ricky. You can do some matches with Hobbs and stuff. Like it seems like that might be the next logical thing. Don't know if it'll happen, but
Hook, if Hook ever decides to get in the ring, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, maybe that's Hook's first match.
I am like SP3. I am a hooker in the street. So yeah,
I don't know. Team Taz is listen. Everyone that watches our show knows that it goes without saying how much I love Ricky Starks, how much we love Ricky Starks. But I don't really know what's going on there. It seems like there's more to it than we see on TV. I watched their match on Dark and I was like, Ricky's he needs some time in the ring, man. Ricky looked so off on Dark. It was weird.
5 times this year.
It's a weird one. I don't know what the situation is. I hope his health is good, most importantly. But Team Taz kind of feels like in a holding pattern, right? They've missed 2 pay-per-views now in a row.
Yeah.
Was that on Double or Nothing?
Including this one? That's including 4 coming up?
Yeah, because Double or Nothing, Cage wrestled Hangman. So they were on the kind of, on the parameters of that. But look, and we all love Ricky Starks. But I was watching that match on Dark and I was like, man, Ricky looks like he hasn't wrestled in so long. But I just hope his neck's good because that's obviously scary shit.
Yeah, he hasn't wrestled. I mean, he had the match with Cage and the Lockhart match, not the other match with Cage. He did wrestle a few times on the Jericho cruise. How long those matches were and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the tag team match on Dark as well. He just, since April, he's wrestled 1, 2, 3, 4 times in AEW, and then the 3 Jericho cruise matches.
The reason I have kind of many concerns with this, beyond just the obvious, Ricky Starks seems like an awesome human being, and I would rather his neck be good. The other thing is we talk about ceiling and all these guys and the pillars. Bro, I've got Ricky Starks above all of these guys. Ricky Starks is money. He's top of the big board. So it frightens me because I want Ricky to get rolling here and he the injury obviously slowed him down. And when I see him on commentary for Rampage, I kind of double take. It's just by the way, he does a great job on Rampage. It's just how old is Ricky? In his late 20s and he's on. It scared me a little bit with the neck thing. So I hope he's good. Ricky Starks, he rolls.
He does. The other segment on Dynamite tonight: Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Rebel, Thunder Rosa, The Goat, Tay Conti, and Anna Jay. Imagine Tay Conti wins and Rebel takes the pen because she always takes the pen, and give her some momentum heading into the pay-per-view where she should kick Britt Baker's head off in 2 minutes and win the title. True.
She should, but I don't see that happening, unfortunately.
He's a coward.
I know. I'm just absolutely. But yeah, I think that Thunder Rosa probably is going to be eventually the one to take it off of Britt. So again, it's kind of like Thunder Rosa too is in a little bit of a holding pattern right now. Unless she's been wrestling on Dark, I haven't really had the time to watch Dark that much lately. So
Thunder Rosa, there was the concussion problem, right? Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, she was off for a little bit. She missed a little bit of time because of that.
Yeah.
But
she was on
cleared and everything now. She was on Dark this
week.
Last night.
Yeah,
she was okay. So I love Tay Conti. I would love to see her as a champion, but it's just not going to happen right now.
It's interesting. This feud is, it's I don't really know if it's a feud, but I actually think the women they've made positive steps, and the TBS tournament has been a really nice kind of indicator of those positive steps, and that those women all feel visible on TV. It's not that they're being kind of pulled out of nowhere for the most part, which is nice because that wasn't always the way. Ironically, as they have done all of this, the one thing they always focused on was Britt, and this is now the second pay-per-view program where Britt's match feels like just a match.
Yeah.
Now, the last time they did this with Chris, the match was actually really damn good. So, it was hard to be too negative on it. But Ty Conti has not spoke on television. Now,
she doesn't need to speak, Joseph. She just kicks people in the fucking head.
But she doesn't do that enough on Dynamite.
She doesn't.
And so you end up in this situation where it's if you just watch the last 2 months of TV, this match is 100% the one with the least going on here, right? Us three can all agree we're not interested in the Circle deal. But the Inner Circle are on television every damn week, for better or almost certainly worse. They're on TV every week. Ty Conti and Britt Baker's program has been one promo from Britt, and a whole lot of times where Ty doesn't ever come out of her friend down to jail and then just runs out afterwards, which is terrible.
And this whole feud.
She's a terrible friend, and Anna Jay should turn on her on Saturday. But it's a shame. I think it's hilarious in a kind of mean way that they finally seem to get the other pieces in play, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Britt. Oh, forgot." But I don't know, man. It's a weird process watching them try to figure out the women's division, because I think it's objectively better, but when you look at this pay-per-view card, it's and then Britt's going to wrestle Ty. And we all agree the match is going to be good and we all like Ty and Britt's a star. But man, that thing's got nothing to it. There's no meat on the bone there. Hopefully they get something tonight. They aren't going to, because they're going to just do a six-woman tag. So it's just maintenance booking for the most part. It's a real shame. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's where we're at.
I think they'll add a women's match to the buy-in on this show as well.
The Bunny versus Roman Reigns.
We already know who won that match.
Yeah, true.
Bunny kicked him off of Fox Sports 1.
Coward. Yeah, the Bunnies. But the Bunny and Penelope Ford versus this new thing they're doing Dark, where Ryo Mizunami just teams up with a different wrestler every week and convinces you they should be a full-time team because she's so damn good.
They might just do the TBS people in an 8-person tag or something.
Yes, sorry, I was reading Tope Suicida's comment. I was distracted. Those multi-woman matches, they rule on Dark, man. Yeah. I'm telling you, if you like that roster, you will enjoy them, because I'm appreciating the roster more each time I see these deals. They're just really good. So I wish some of that stuff was on TV, but it's not allowed apparently.
Got to have another Inner Circle segment with Tony Schiavone, because we're getting that tonight as well.
Listen, man, people are into it. They love it. Let's be honest about it, But
I sang Judas at Arthur Ashe, so I mean,
look, if you're in the arena singing Judas, I was there. You got to.
Yeah.
Fucking rules. Let's not pretend otherwise. When he comes out and the place sings, it's a really cool thing. But I just wish I was enjoying the stuff he did once that ended. It's much more. But again, I understand there's a lot of extracurricular activities with Chris Jericho. I'm just, as a professional wrestler, I wish his stuff was popping me more. It's a shame.
Joseph, you have a picture of Edward Kingston over your shoulder.
No, this is Rey Mysterio Jr. and Eddie
your
Guerrero.
other shoulder. You have two shoulders. There you go.
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. But above that,
one.
Yeah. Edward Kingston and Jonathan Moxley. They've been in the news.
Yep.
They've been in the news. Moxley checked himself into inpatient alcohol treatment, and Eddie Kingston wrote a open letter on the Players Tribune, where both men kind of showed a lot of strength in through depression and anxiety and mental health. And Joseph, you've been banging the Eddie Kingston drum. I'll never forget this, by the way. I'll tell the story here. When we did the show last year during the pandemic and everything, this might have been early on, but NWA Power was still like relatively good. And this is when we came up with like topics and stuff. Mm-hmm. And you just go, did you watch that Eddie Kingston promo on NWA Power? And I was like, yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it. He's like, that shit, man, that was something else. I was like, do you want to talk about it, Joseph? He was like, yeah, we got to talk about this Eddie Kingston promo. I'm pretty sure that's like the only time we spoke about the NWA, but that was really what clued me in to just how big of an Eddie Kingston fan you were when you're like, this Kingston promo on Power, the greatest thing I've seen all week. It's like, all right, we'll talk about it. Your thoughts on his letter?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I really think Eddie Kingston's beloved in professional wrestling. People actually do appreciate him. So when I say this, I don't say it lightly. I mean it with like the utmost sincerity. Is people know Eddie Kingston's great. And even me, when I see him do stuff, what he's done this last week too, that he's still underappreciated for how great he is. Because he's been in AEW now for, 14, 15 months. And if you'd have asked me a month ago where he was at on my big board that we always talk about, I'd have had him, slotted a couple tiers down. And then you see him do stuff like what he's doing with CM Punk right now. And you realise that in actual truth, he is one of the most spectacular professional wrestlers in the whole industry. No doubt. Because there's many great wrestlers, and that's awesome. And I love great professional wrestlers. I mean, Roderick Strong's one of my favourite wrestlers. He's just a wrestler. I love those guys. I respect the craft. Eddie Kingston's different, though, man. Because he can make stuff. This match is the most hyped match on Full Gear. It wasn't a match 2 weeks ago. It wasn't a fault 2 weeks ago. If you'd have brought it up, I'd have shot it down and said it was dumb. That's how great Eddie Kingston is. And that's not to discredit CM Punk, because CM Punk is, right there with him. The letter was everything that makes Eddie Kingston exactly what I just said. Relatable, authentic, vulnerable in the most kind of aggressive way. A complete middle finger to every stereotype while being the biggest stereotype of all. Pops me tremendously. Him and Moxley doing this it means a lot, because we know that the world is trying to do a better job of dealing with these topics. But to take the two wrestlers that are most throwback and most old school badass, they're just going to go and beat the shit out of guys. To take those two guys and let them, they're the ones that are kind of beating that drum. And there's some others, I don't want to discredit them, but it means a lot. It means a lot to me personally. I thought Eddie Kingston had it in him. I didn't think he was going to do this shit, man. I mean, even when he main evented with Mox, it was like, you did it, good job, but it never felt like it would stick the way it has, dude. We're a year removed from that. He's hotter than ever. And when that article thumbnail popped on my timeline, it blew me away. Well, I never thought I'd see that. But on a roster of stars, Eddie Kingston he's one of them. Believe it or not, he may not look that way. He may not be the conventional choice, but that man is a star. and Rampage proved it. That article proved it. All of the above. Just an incredible, all-time great professional wrestler.
True.
I've been beating this drum too, believe it or not, on Twitter for quite a while now, because Eddie Kingston is probably, I would say, one of the top 3 people that could talk me into a building legitimately. Mm-hmm. Like, I wish so badly that Full Gear was in St. Louis still, because I would have gotten the hell there and seen that just for this match. And the first time I saw Eddie Kingston, I actually saw him a couple of times in Evolve when I used to go to the Evolve shows. R.I.P. And not knowing who he was at all, seeing him get in the ring when he was part of the Unwanted group, just captivating, absolutely captivating. Every move he makes matters. Every move he makes looks real. Like he says, this is real. He always says this in his promos. Okay, yes, obviously wrestling is fake, blah, 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 whatever. But it just feels real with him. You can tell. You can see it in his movements. You can see it on his face. And that letter that he wrote, that I read this morning, it made me emotional. It honestly did. It was so beautifully written. I absolutely love how much, and of course, love how much mental health is being addressed right now, but of course, sad that people are going through this. I hope, I wish Moxley nothing but the absolute best, and I hope he gets better. It's so, I never thought that I would see this, I've never thought that I'd see mental health issues, vulnerability being, a light shining on it so bright. And what better to people really to show, shit goes on behind the scenes, this is what's going on, than Mox and Eddie, really. I think they're two veterans in this game. And like you said, it's like these two guys having such a huge mental health presence when all this has been, this business is hiding everything, tying up the boots and getting in the ring and doing this. And no, everybody's human at the end of the day. Let's just take a step back. Let's take a mental health break. I tell you, what actually got me the most in that letter was when he was at the point he was about to do the match with Cody, and he said Brody Lee came up to him and was like, "Hey, let's," he wasn't in it, but he shoved him, and then Eddie shoved Brody back, and he's like, "Okay, now I'm pumped. I'm ready to go." And Cody saying, "Yeah, we're going to give you the mic," because he agreed that Eddie walking out to music when he's never been in a company before, it doesn't make sense. So it's just, it's just like, it's those little things that AEW gets so right and makes it such a rewarding company to watch. And I'm so incredibly happy for him. And I really hope my little fantasy booking is Hangman wins, Punk gets the title from Hangman, and then, because in my prediction, Eddie wins at Full Gear, I think Eddie should win at Full Gear. Yeah. And that sets Punk up for the heel turn that we've been waiting for. Mm-hmm. And Eddie eventually beats Punk for the world title.
It's interesting you say that, because I was kicking this around earlier. I've always said, listen, the Eddie Kingston character doesn't need the belt, but like, you see these last couple of weeks, you're like, maybe it doesn't matter, he doesn't need it, maybe he should just win the belt. And the exact scenario I went to is one that Drew just laid out, where effectively King catching Punk, or maybe it's the other way around where Punk has to cheat to beat Eddie, something in that, something where he leaves it as a heel. There's a real story to be told there. I can't stress enough how unique a moment in time this matchup is. Because here you have two guys that have history, and there's this rich backstory to tell, but they've never actually wrestled a singles match. As far as I know, I could be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure. Pretty confident in that, okay? I've never seen it anyway. You have that. You have two of the greatest promos in the history of professional wrestling. If that upsets you, I'm sorry, you're wrong, I'm right. It's the truth. It's the CM Punk and Eddie Kingston, two of the best promos ever. You see, you have that dynamic, and
never wrestled a singles match.
There you go. So you have that, and then you add on top of it this dynamic where they're like complete contrasts. Eddie Kingston resents the fact that not only did Punk treat him that way and all of that stuff, but he, Punk lived the dream and just left it, right? He resents that in the same way that Punk resents the fact that King never worked hard enough to live that dream to begin with in his mind. They both think the other one's full of shit, basically. You have Punk, who's kind of this laid-back, smug, I don't say know-it-all, but, he has that vibe. Right? That's Punk. He's always got an answer for everything. You have Kingston, who wears his heart on his sleeve. It's completely made for each other. It's perfect. Who's the babyface and heel? As of right now, I don't know. I assume we'll get an answer on Saturday or even tonight, maybe, but there's a lot there. I always remember the great Handwork reviews. You should check their work out. Handwork, spelled W-E-R-K. They do great match reviews. And they were doing their year-end list last year. And they had this description of Eddie Kingston that stuck with me. They said, he can break the television. He can do something that makes you actually take a step back and say, wait, is this on the same show as the rest of this stuff? I've seen a lot of great wrestling, so that felt a little bit different. Very much what he did on Rampage in that promo against Punk. But what was interesting about that description was, as I looked it up earlier today, is that the comparison he used was he's the only guy left that does that, much like a Steve Austin once did and a CM Punk once did. And at the time that was written, obviously Punk was 7 years deep into retirement. And I read it and was like, man, that's incredible. Someone that really knows professional wrestling and loves it, listing Eddie Kingston, CM Punk, and Stone Cold Steve Austin as these three guys that are able to sort of, get past make you feel like the scene is alive, make you feel like anything can happen. And now two of them are having this program in AEW. And this is the shit you watch for, brothers. I'll be real with you. I don't know what the match will look like. I'm pretty confident it's going to be really good. But there is something to be said for the lost art of just talking us in, as that phrase that Drew used. They're in on this thing, man. And I think, depending on where it's placed in the card, but especially if it's quite early, you're going to have one of those rare situations where people pop on the opening bell ringing because they want to see what happens. So it's going to be electric. I can't wait.
Just from that, you guys saw the Road to, right? That little promo that they did on the Road to. Oh my God! Just that alone sets just for a 2-week build for this basically to happen. Because, like you said, 2 weeks ago, this wasn't a match. This wasn't happening, and now it's coming up so soon. It's like it's got to be the fastest creation of a feud to a pay-per-view match in AEW's history right now, right?
Yeah, I'd love to know the backstory. I don't know if we're going to get some of that this week. I assume some of the guys are doing press, but we know the name that was listed opposite Punk on the famed, definitely not Full Gear card. I would love to know if this is a case where Punk was just kind of, let's just do Kingston, because that's kind of what Moxley did last year. It's amazing that two straightforward, and this is the Eddie Kingston thing, is he convinces people he's going to win every pay-per-view. And I think we all think there's a chance he beats CM Punk, which is so insane. Imagine telling us this 2 weeks ago. Well, here we are. We're doing it again.
This is, I tweeted that he's 2-5 in singles matches since Full Gear last year. Television singles matches, he's 2-5. Dark Elevation, whatever. But he doesn't win. And the Miro match came together pretty late as well. That was not a thing that had a ton of build to it. Miro just called him out, and it seemed kind of random because King was doing the tag matches with Moxley and Fighting 2.0 and everything. He got called out. It's okay, now we're doing this match, and we were hyped for that match. This one came together pretty recently, just a week ago, and we're hyped for this match. He doesn't win, so AEW wants to say wins and losses matter. We build up these contenders and stuff. We're most hyped for this match because this man he makes you feel something.
He's an outlier. Yeah,
Yep.
He's really a good, and God forbid, talk about the other channel. But, he's a great example of why, where professional wrestling lost its way in a lot of ways, because professional wrestling became obsessed with these kind of Okay, how tall is this guy? How much does he weigh? How does he look on his 8x10? You know, was he? And it's like, at the end of the day, man, wrestling's about connecting with people and making them feel shit. Eddie Kingston's been great at for a long time. It took a long time for people to realize it because of how incompetent. And that isn't just a shot at WWE. Some of the other dipshits out there running professional wrestling promotions and we're booking Matt Morgan and shit. Coming for you too, okay? It's your fault. But it all ends up the way it should. Kingston's on AEW TV and it's where obviously it belongs. But this is what wrestling's supposed to be about, man. The excitement, the hype. It's great. When you watch a great match, it's great. I love great professional wrestling. I watch it any day of the week. But you will never... There is an excitement right now that we all feel for this match that you can't... That's the magic of it. You know? Otherwise, we'd all just watch the repeats over and over again of the greatest matches we already know are great. That isn't what we're here for, if we're being honest with ourselves. We're here for the anticipation of what could be. That's the real kind of mystery to this.
But this is a more magic with Eddie Kingston is they announced this Punk in Kingston promo segment. You're like, I don't give a fuck about the wrestling on this show. Like, I just want to see these two men speak. And that is a testament to both of them. Like
that segment ended, and bless the bunny and Red Velvet. They could have sent out. They could have sent out Terry Funk. I was done. I was looking at my phone. People texting me. You know, it's really difficult to describe and explain it without feeling like you're being a dick and being, you know, discrediting just good professional wrestlers. There's nothing wrong with being a good professional wrestler. Again, most of my favorites fit that description. But you have to understand that this is something very, very different. And even on a roster as great as AEW, King is still in a very, very small group of people. And when you saw Punk go through the gears for a minute, then when he called him a bum, fuck, man. That was incredible. What a great, great segment.
I want to, because we need to wrap up here before Dynamite, but look, if Xavier Woods is the thumbnail, it's in the headline. Should mention something. He wasn't reportedly, as Sean says, he wasn't getting paid for Up Down Down. The people on the channel were like, hey, this is bullshit. Let's make this right. And now there hasn't been anything on the channel for weeks now. At least anything new. They've stopped. You know, they lost Cesar, or they didn't lose Cesar. They lost Cole. They fired a lot of people who were part of the channel. That channel has 2.2 million subscribers, and it's all off the hard work of Xavier Woods. I think it's absolute bullshit that he didn't see much from it. He got his own sponsorships off of that. They did have merchandise, which I'm pretty sure they got paid off of the merchandise because Woods made sure to mention they're like, hey, we make the money off of this, so buy this merchandise. I think it's nonsense that they do this to the talent, and it just continues to make them look worse when it comes to this stuff. True?
Yeah, well, I mean, this also goes really hand in hand with what we were talking about before we started talking about AEW, that for whatever reason, they think that WWE is the marquee. No. Xavier Woods, you know, everybody that they've been letting go, that, I mean, true locker room leaders, you could say. You know, Keith Lee was loved backstage. Ruby was loved backstage, you know, and it's mind-boggling to me that it's mind-boggling to me how they don't see the good of the people that they have on their roster and use those people, you know. All right, fine. You want to do the Twitch edict and people can't go on Twitch and make their money. Whatever. It's bullshit, but whatever. But Xavier Woods, this is a guy that you want to have on your roster for life, because, you know, God help WWE if Xavier Woods decides to walk and go somewhere else, you know. It's just I don't get it. At the end of the day, it's an absolute mind-blowing stupid thing for Vince McMahon, for WWE as a whole, all the higher ups, to just be like, hey, yeah, Xavier Woods, all right, we're not going to give him anything extra for this, even though he's been the guy who, and I don't remember if Sean said this today or if this was on Twitter, he could be a huge thing for the gaming industry outside of WWE. If he decided,
he got a G4 deal.
Yeah, like, you want to talk about being in the know in pop culture right now? Xavier Woods is in it. He's doing all of these things that would draw some attention, I think, to WWE. People go, oh, he's a WWE wrestler. Let me check that out, because he's doing this gaming stuff, and he's phenomenal. I mean, he's another one, beloved backstage. The people in, Sean was saying, the people in the company that he's talked to, they're even, the higher ups, not even just the wrestlers, even the higher ups are like, yeah, this is a raw deal for him to get. He deserves it. Up, Down, Down is on the map, really, because of him, and it sucks that WWE is taking advantage of it.
Joseph, thoughts?
I don't know, bro.
Sure.
Drew covered it. Like, what? Like, it's told us enough times,
Yeah.
I for one, am shocked that they don't see how someone like Xavier Woods can help their brand. Shocking information.
It baffles me every single time. Like, this is their channel, and they do nothing to promote it or do anything. Woods wasn't even getting money out of it, and they still weren't promoting it and like putting it over and stuff. He just made them a bunch of money, and they didn't do anything to support it. It's baffling to me. They didn't do anything to support it for themselves, and they obviously didn't do anything to support it for him if they weren't getting him any pay. Just absolutely baffling to me. I don't understand it. Yeah, you mentioned the contracts. All of New Day's contracts come up at the same time, and I'm pretty sure it's like late 2024. So they're there. Yeah, they're there for a while. I mean, they'd be released tomorrow, given how that company works. But assuming they write out their contracts, they are there for a while. It's baffling. I don't get it, but I don't get a lot of things WWE does. Guys, everyone enjoy Dynamite. Drew, let the people know where they can find you.
I am at Big Money Drew on Twitter, and that's really the only place that I am these days.
There you go. Follow Drew, Big Money Drew on Twitter. Joseph, do you have anything to plug?
AEW Dynamite, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on TNT. Impact Wrestling, Access TV. Might have that on your television set. I don't know.
We do more viewers than them.
Sorry to hear that. TheLateNightGrin.com. Does it have the in front of it? Does anyone know?
No, just it's LateNightGrin.com. We did not plug that earlier. Nobody should go to LateNightGrin.com. It's not affiliated with this channel. Please
don't go to LateNightGrin.com, because we're definitely not doing an episode of the Late Night Grin on Friday. I'm back. The Grin, I was going to say the Grin is back, but like, it never actually went away. It was just my ego talking. But I'm back. I'll be on there tomorrow, also after the Distraction post show, watching Bob O'Neill and Confirmed Sheep book Texas Wrestling Federation.
Oh, I'm going to join that. I was going to join it last week, and then
releases.
Their thing
live on the app.
So I didn't have a chance. So I'm gonna be present for that. You're just in the chat, right, Joseph?
No, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be on the screen, but obviously I don't want to drown out the great booking. Bob O'Neill.
I just want to do like reactions to everything more than anything. At some point, Joseph and I will do our TEW series.
At some point.
Yeah.
One day.
I'm not making promises on when, but I said at some point it'll happen. All right, guys, the Distraction is back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Probably at a late start because TK has a media call that I have to cover at 2, and I know he's not going to go to 3. He's definitely going to go a little bit over time, so we'll probably get a late start on that. But Distraction tomorrow on the Fightful YouTube channel, and then the post show 4:30.
Just pop a number, brothers. Just to get that viewership up.
I think we will. Big AEW week. The AEW fans love us because we're in the fleet, right?
Full
You
gear
are.
on BR Live. Is that right?
Yeah, I
All
think
elite.
so.
We are all.
There you go.
I'm not. I'm unbiased.
Oh.
I'm impartial. I don't have any allegiances. I hate all wrestling equally. All right,
God bless.
guys. We'll talk to y'all later on. Enjoy your night.